Brave Revolution. I'm your brother and friend, Brother Eric Ture Muhammad. We have an issue with camera, so I'm just going to go straight away, folks, and give us the audio. So, welcome to our first edition, the debut of It's All About the Dream, the lecture series. Every Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, we'll be here on the platform offering personal development, personal growth, adages, wealth considerations, uh, wealth options, multiple sources of income. These are the focal points of what we're offering here every week, Friday evening, Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, United States time zones. So I want to move straight away to what we have in store for you. We don't want to belabor any points and would like for you to consider speed, velocity, and acceleration. This is where we are in today's presentation. Simply put, we want to understand a few components. We want to understand speed. We want to understand velocity. We want to understand um, uh, uh, acceleration, okay, and how it applies to our everyday life, but particularly how it impacts our income to develop the proper outcome. So let's look at understanding speed, because speed is simply how fast you or an item moves. However, it cannot produce anything because it does not offer direction. Speed only offers force. Speed is how fast you move. But in wealth building, speed means rapid execution. Now, there's some other components that go along with that, and we don't want to divorce anyone from that. Okay. In addition, fast action creates momentum, experience, and opportunity. These are important elements of speed, but speed will not accumulate wealth for you overall. It's a part and parcel of a formula. Okay. So speed is defined here for this purpose as how fast you move. In our wealth building dynamic, speed means rapid execution. Now, fast action creates momentum. Fast action creates experience and opportunity. But the opposite of that, if you move at a slow speed, then that slow speed action creates hesitation and stagnation. Now, there's a lot of components that speak to that, and we might delve into that a little bit before we get out of here. But truth be told, money in and of itself loves speed. And the reason why you want to be fast with your money, with your movement of money, because money requires motion. It's a currency, right? On top of that, you have a lot of investment opportunities out here. You have a lot of operations out here, but they all, like food, have expiration dates. Okay. So opportunities do expire. So it's a matter of knowing what you're involving your money in. It's also a matter of having due diligence or understanding the power of due diligence and what that means. Opportunities do expire. Okay. Wealth builders, however, we act quickly. Now, what makes us to act quickly also gives us a lane of fast learning. See, when we apply ourselves, folks, the fast learner often performs or outperforms more talented people. And you'll find in building wealth, it's a matter of skill set, if you will, to maintain it. But you can absolutely be ahead of the pack, be in front of the movement of money when we make a conscious decision to do those few things which require action. And then execution beats perfection. All right. So many of us overwhelm ourselves with, I wonder what it'll look like. I wonder, let me put all this in place. Let me dot I's, let me cross T's, let me loop L's. And while you're doing all of that, someone has moved on that idea, which you thought was solely yours. But you're on a planet with 8 billion people, 24,896 miles in circumference, and thought travels on average 24 billion miles per second. How many times did it hit somebody else before the thought got to you? And if you decide you want to be so perfect in your approach, then how many of us miss the mark and it becomes somebody else's idea? And we want to say, oh, they stole it. Let's understand velocity. We talked a little bit about speed. Here's another component of the formula known as velocity. Velocity, folks, is speed with direction. Now, this is important to understand because velocity of itself doesn't offer you uh, 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 speed or momentum. Like you can spin around in a circle and go round and round in that circle, but it gives you no progress because it's in the same direction. However, velocity is speed with direction, meaning that velocity you develop is it has a goal at its end. It has a destination at its end. And coupled with speed, velocity can determine how fast you arrive. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of us oftentimes think being busy is the component to building wealth. It's not, and it's not the same. Matter of fact, there's a law known as the Pareto law, and the Pareto law suggests that 100% of our success is rooted amongst 20% of the population of people. 20% of our activity is productive. 80% of our activity is busy, and they are not the same. You want to be productive in your wealth build. You want to be productive in your cash flow. You want to be productive in your managing the accumulation of such flow. But if it's not focused, then it can't produce. It will only just be busy. Focused effort compounds. Whatever you focus wherever your focus goes, your energy grows. That's just a straight up fact. And then you have clarity, which creates momentum. Now, I want you to stay with me on this and understand the power of what we have here. We're not going to be long, but we intend to be strong. I just want to make sure we hit these particular points with you, and we appreciate the time in this debut broadcast. Okay? Clarity. Clarity creates momentum. And when you have velocity moving with speed, with direction, then you're building towards that focus that will give you a clearer understanding of where you're heading. You have a greater understanding of the journey, and you might find yourself adding on to the journey. But let me just go back to speed and help you understand something. Speed without direction is dangerous because constant activity without goals create exhaustion. How many people just running, but not producing? That can wear you out. Jumping from opportunity to opportunity slows progress because there's no intentional, purposeful movement. And then wealth requires alignment and consistency. Speed without direction nullifies that point. Wealth requires alignment and consistency. Now, let's look at velocity in wealth creation to give a greater perspective. Clear financial targets, intentional networking, focused skill development, consistent daily action, and strategic income building. These are elements, components of wealth creation. You cannot create it without the direction, without the velocity, without the speed. We're going to show you the formula and how it works out in just a moment. Now, velocity in wealth creation in these 5 components I showed here, this is speed plus direction provides or equals velocity, right? Now, it brings us to that component where you can measure the progress known as acceleration. Let's work to understand acceleration. You see, acceleration is increasing progress over time. That's its definition. Increasing progress over time. So many of us believe that we'll have an idea and we'll jump in it, and we have this false notion that, it's going to make us $1 million overnight, right? And then it doesn't come overnight. It takes a little longer, or it takes a while longer, and it frustrates many people. But acceleration is the increase, and the increase is what you want to focus on because it's the increased progress over time. Momentum begins to compound as you consistently build upon that acceleration, as you build on working that formula. Systems, folks, create leverage. It's systems that produce. It's systems that sell. It's systems that offers that uh, camaraderie, if you will, or that combination of mapping out the focus. Systems, relying on systems will produce. Systems create leverage. And that in that way, growth becomes exponential. I shared with you, I was going to highlight what we mean by this when we look at our formulas. So let's take a quick look. Speed, again, means rate at which an object moves, not necessarily direction. Speed offers no direction. Speed just offers motion, distance over time. Okay. Now, what makes that time essential is marrying it on to velocity, because velocity equals speed plus direction. You follow? And when you have these two components working with you, then you have time to the second power, because the first power is distance and the time implemented. The next power is speed plus direction, meaning it has focus, it has a destination, and that empowers the component of time. So it's distance over time to the second power. That's what acceleration is. It's these two components below distance that gives you the acceleration. And understand the rate at which velocity changes is the determining factor in the time that it takes. So when you look at the fact that speed doesn't do it alone, you need speed plus direction, and this will produce or incorporate the acceleration process. And now, what's so phenomenal about this? It's so simple. But what's phenomenal about this, it helps to flatten the curve, which I like to call the wealth curve. The wealth curve simply is where you engage learning and discipline. That's stage one. Then you have stage two, direction and momentum. See, you're learning a pursuit, and then you discipline yourself to put pressure on that pursuit, and that offers direction and that offers momentum. And then it puts you in the position of acceleration and then expansion. Expansion represents the exponential growth, henceforth, exponential wealth. But here's where the problem comes in. As Dexter Yeager of Amway fame used to say, they ain't going to do it. See, most people quit before acceleration begins. That's most people, folks. That's because we're stuck in a phase of habitual habits, which have become practically a habitual culture. As a result, this is more scientifically explained as a paradigm. A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And I got news for you, folks. Almost all of our behavior is habitual. See, paradigms come into existence from the time we come into the world. In fact, it has been proven that if you have not taken control of that behavior, that habitual behavior, by the age of 5, professionals have suggested that that particular paradigm or that habitual behavior will be with you the rest of your life. So whatever box or bag or trick you're off into as a result of not having control of your habitual behaviors, you'll be doomed to them over and over and over and over again. However, when you're in position to take charge and control of the paradigm, which we teach in From Wish to Winning, we teach you how to do that. See, your paradigm has enormous control over perception, use of time, creativity, effectiveness, productivity, and logic. These factors here, these 6 factors on your screen The habitual behavior impacts all of that. And if you're not in charge of the behavior, then you're not in charge of your progress. You're just as Grace Jones is saying, you're just a slave to the rhythm, right? That in and of itself creates enemies to your wealth building. And the enemies are self-imposed and self-contained. You're talking about financial friction, which includes fear, indecision, procrastination, distractions, and poor habits. Poor habits, folks, lend to the lack of success. Have you ever wondered why you could have gone to live in the same neighborhood, have the same friends, you have the same peers, same gender, same age group, you get the same schooling, you get the same job, and then when y'all both get into the job, one excels beyond the other, but you have practically everything the same? Why is that? It's because of the lack of control and fearing things that are probably non-existent except in our heads. But when we reduce this financial friction by gaining a greater knowledge of self, understanding those habitual habits, and creating new ones, then we reduce friction and increase momentum. Now, just to give you a better look into what we're talking about with paradigm, simply stated, we don't think. We just operate out of senses and live in present results. Yes, we see, we hear, we smell, we taste, we touch, but those are present behaviors. Those are things that happen in the present. But in the paradigm, this, believe it or not, is a picture of your mind. This is a picture of your mind. And the larger portion here is split in half. The top half is the conscience. The bottom half is the subconscious. And then below that is connected to the body that carries out the marching orders of the mind. But you have no marching orders when you only see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. You just react. But a paradigm is in charge of the thoughts that you do have, and that has to be in sync, in harmony with the subconscious to take on the marching orders. So what needs to happen, we take what we know and we feed it consciously into the subconscious mind to produce the results and have a body in motion. This is known as upside down, inside out. Thank you, Mr. Bob Proctor, for this teaching. Upside down and inside out. We must create and control our paradigm. Once we're in control of it, folks, then we can make true use of the wealth curve, because that's where the acceleration will then begin. So you'll find yourself learning and discipline in your first stage. You'll find yourself successfully with direction and momentum in the third stage of this, acceleration and expansion. And before you know it, you are off and running. Now, one other thing I want to say about velocity, which is our theme for the month. Velocity determines how fast you accomplish, as well as how slow you accomplish. Okay, acceleration has speeds. You can take off in the direction and grow, or you can move slow in the direction and stall. But these three stages are imperative to have in place. Now, remember what I mentioned to you about currency, loving, velocity? Currency comes from currents. It's movement. Money and water have a wonderful relationship, because just as water flows in a direction, that's how money is designed. It's designed to flow, to be a part of a channel. Okay, money moving intelligently creates opportunities, and wealth grows through circulation and leverage. So, the formula for wealth momentum, simply speed. Take action quickly. Be quick to fire, slow to hire. Speed. Take action quickly. Velocity. move in the right direction. And acceleration builds systems that compound results. And then you'll find yourself living the formula that rates and produces the success. Speed, velocity, acceleration. Now, folks, one thing is clear. Old habits have to go. If the paradigm definition or understanding doesn't do anything else, it should help you to understand that you need to take charge of the habitual behavior and see yourself as worthy of change, deserving of change, and a receptor when it comes down to money, wealth, a receptor to the abundance. The paradigm will try to keep you stuck and shackled to your current circumstances. In order to make significant change and progress, you have to make a committed decision followed by action. And the reward will be living the life you previously only dreamt about. We have to see ourselves as worthy, folks. We absolutely have to see ourselves as worthy. Now, I want you to understand there are 3 income earning strategies. I'm going to share a quote with you here from Mr. Earl Nightingale, and I'm going to show you where 96% of the people are and what barriers you have to break in order to enjoy the freedom you seek, because that's what wealth gives us. Wealth provides freedom. The richer you are, the more freedom you attain. The wealthier you are, the freedom you have. Folks, Earl Nightingale, who's considered the dean of personal development, says, most people think they want more money than they really do, and they settle for a lot less than they could have. And this speaks volumes to the levels of functionality. We have M1, M2, and M3. These are money layers, okay? M1 is where 96% of the people are, where we sell our time for money. And this is the problem that shackles the majority of the world, because we think we're supposed to work for money because we've been indoctrinated as such. But the truth of the matter is, money's supposed to work for us. It's a tool of the abundance, and abundance was created for us to take advantage of. Time, however, is an asset that we don't get back on our own. Time is an asset that's continuously moving. The moment you look at the tick of a clock, that moment and all previous moments are gone, because that time will not come back. It's an ongoing asset. It continues to move and grow, but and go and forge ways for others, right? We're leasing time in this body. We're leasing time with our lungs. We're leasing time with our heartbeat. We're leasing time with our functionality. How we utilize that time should not be crippled, hindered, shackled, or constrained by working for something that's supposed to work for us. So 96% of people are right there at M1, selling their time for money. And it hasn't worked, and it will not work. And then 3% of the folks work out of giving money a job. That's M2, where money is used to produce more money. Give money a job. See, if you are in M1, then you are habitually showing that your money's unemployed. But when you escape and move into making your money make money, even utilizing your job to finance the freedom you seek. Oh yeah, that's big. 3% of the people only do that. But then there's that 1%. This 1% is where this wealth will eventually take you, as long as you're following the formula. Speed, velocity, acceleration. See, in M3, that's the 1% of the people that control 96% of the wealth. And this is where you have multiple sources of income. You utilize your income sources here as multipliers over time. Now, think about this now. That's the top 1%. M2 represents 3%, and 96% of the planet is operating on M1, time for money. But wealth is built by multiple sources of income, or affectionately known as MSIs. And when you have all these sources out here working for you, we're literally talking about you operating as your own bank, behaving as your own bank with constant income options coming back to you. They're not all the same size. They won't be all the same amounts, but they're yours. They're coming right to you. You are banking it. Now, we teach this from Wish to Winning. We teach this in our coaching clubs. We teach how this is even possible. We even open up, upon your joining us, we open up multiple sources of income options for you to personally explore and take advantage of immediately if that's your choice. What would that information be worth to you? See, what if you could immediately join us, many of us earning growing six-figure incomes while following the path to seven figures? How much would you pay to acquire the same skills and mindset as someone who is pulling in multiple eight figures per year? We can show you how to do this. Folks, we have a special known as 1397. 1397 stands for 13 months for $97 from Wish to Winning Coaching Club. Now, how you can come a part of it? Simply, you can send an email message to club with the message Club 13, email to thewealthminister@gmail.com, or you can call today and leave a message with your name and phone number, and one of our team members will get back to you to help you understand, give you more detail, and set up a complimentary coaching that will give you a greater understanding of what it is that we offer in these sessions. So, folks, from Wish to Winning, it's a real deal. We're able to show you what you have not learned in school, what has not been made available to you in on your job. Your jobs didn't teach you this. We haven't learned it in our spiritual centers, our houses of worship, no matter the denominational stripe. We haven't learned it at the dinner table because maybe our table was challenged. Maybe we followed the paradigms of others, the habitual behavior of others, and as a result, we never broke free from it. But here, it is doable. Here, it is possible. I want to thank you for the time and attention you afforded us here in our debut session. And we encourage you to follow us, join, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and allow yourselves to be positioned to understand the power of leveraging yourselves with opportunity. I want to again thank you for your time and attention, and I'll see us all on the next live stream. Thank you, everyone.